People, welcome to Bootcamp video 9. Starbucks just landed, so I can tell you for a fact this is going to be a good video. I felt like I was operating from 1 HP. Anyway, it's fine. Today we're going to be going over the law of assumption. You do not need to act based on what is real. You act based on what you assume is real. And this is what you guys need to understand. You guys take actions on not what actually is real. You take actions on what you assume is real based on limiting beliefs that you have bought into. As I said again, you guys need to understand this, but you also need to make your prospect understand this. Why this law is so important, for example, is a lot of prospects buy into this idea of money being hard. But this is not actually real, for example. This is based on what they assume to be real. And because they believe this is true, it directly impacts the way they act. So assumptions create internal reality. Prospects do not act based on facts. They act based on assumptions. And this is what the law of assumption is. They've already accepted as truth. So common life 1.0 assumptions is money is hard. I always fail. Nothing works out for me. I'm never ready. It's not the correct time to start. I'm not capable. Why the law of assumption is so important, right, is because our brain are goal-seeking mechanisms. Whatever you look for, your brain also looks for. Whatever you believe to be true, your brain finds reason for it to be true because you have ego. And this over a long enough time makes you truly believe that whatever it is that you thought was true now is true, and you operate from this belief system. So it may not actually be fact, but now you believe it's true over compounded evidence, and you directly act from this identity of someone that believes that these types of things are true. So they are assumptions disguised as laws of reality. And because the prospect assumes them, they behave in alignment with them. And what you need to understand is these beliefs that they buy into never actually align with the version of themselves that they're trying to become. And going back to be, do, have, right, they can never truly act like them if they do not have the same belief system as them. And it's about us working out what they believe to be true, reframing these beliefs and showing them what actually is true, and how the beliefs that they have right now that they believe are true have been directly impacting them, but have also led them to being in this position that they're in right now. So assumptions create emotional states. So every assumption produces an emotional frequency. Negative assumptions create fear, pressure, doubt, scarcity, and stress. Positive assumptions create confidence, calm, trust, and possibility. Emotion is shaped by assumption, not circumstance. Assumption is what actually shapes identity. So identity is built on the assumption someone repeats. Life 1.0 identity comes from I can't, I'm not that type of person, I'm not consistent. Life 2.0 identity comes from I always figure things out, I'm capable, I grow through action. Identity equals assumptions you choose to accept. So, for example, beliefs that they believe are true but may not actually be true are, for example, stuff like I'm not consistent, right? Their brain will find them reason to believe they're not consistent, and they will truly believe this, and they will operate from this identity of someone who is not consistent, which obviously doesn't align with the identity of the 2.0 version of themselves that they are trying to become. That's why they can't act like them, and that's why they can't have the results of them. And through law of assumption and through our understanding of law of assumption, right, we need to show them why what you believe to be true is not necessarily always true. Show them what actually is true. And these true beliefs align it with the 2.0 version of themselves. Reframe these beliefs to that one so that they can have the results of that person. Remember, people, assumptions are what drive actions. So people behave in alignment with what they assume is true. Life 1.0 assumptions equals life 1.0 actions, which results to life 1.0 results. So which could be hesitation, avoidance, consistency, weak execution. Life 2.0 assumptions will directly influence Life 2.0 actions, which is movement, confidence, responsible behavior, and commitment. Action is an extension of assumption. 5. Assumption creates momentum. Assumption determine whether someone lives in the Life 1.0 momentum. This is the stop-start cycle, fear, stagnation, no necessary traction. And then you've got your Life 2.0 momentum, flow, alignment, consistent action, results building on results. Momentum equals accumulated assumption. So assumptions create self-fulfilling patterns. And it's through assumptive language and assumptions that align with the 2.0 do you see true success. So it's assumption that creates emotion, emotion which creates action, and action which creates outcome. And action over a long enough time is reinforced assumption. And what you guys need to understand is our brain is like exponential curves. After giving it proof, the proof now becomes exponentially rooted into your own subconscious mind. So it's so important that the actions you take that are driven from your emotions, that are driven from your assumptions, are aligned with the 2.0 version of yourself you're trying to become. So Life 1.0 assumptions produce outcomes that confirm Life 1.0 beliefs. Life 2.0 assumptions produce outcomes that confirm Life 2.0 beliefs. Your assumptions create the world you live in. And this is why you guys need to understand this law, obviously implement it into your own life, but allow your prospects to also understand it. So this is why the law of assumption is also so important in sales. So every objection is an assumption. It's not actually a fact. What if it doesn't work? Assumption. I'll probably fail again. Assumption. This seems risky. Assumption. If you don't address the assumption and are not able to show them new beliefs, and the only way you can obviously show them these new beliefs is by doing it yourself in your own life, by having assumptive beliefs that align with the 2.0 version of yourself, you can't close sales. You can't close deals. So prospects buy from assumptions that they operate from. So Life 1.0 assumptions will also lead to Life 1.0 decisions, which be avoidance with whatever it is you are pitching to them. Life 2.0 assumptions will be Life 2.0 decisions, which obviously align with commitment. Okay, showing up every day. So shifting assumptions will equal shifting buying behavior. Assumption shape belief. And I guess you guys probably want to know, how do you do all of this stuff? Get ready, people. Get ready. When I go over Bootcamp 20, so you guys have to wait about 10 videos because there are a lot of laws, there are a lot of things you need to notice. By Bootcamp 20, you will know how to break every single belief here. Assumptions shape self-belief, the hashtag one buying factor. If they assume they are not capable, this is assumption. This is not necessarily true, but it's what they believe to be true. This will drive their action to not investing. You must change the assumption before you change their decision. Okay? You change the belief, you do not change the action. This is where closers go wrong. They hear the action prospects want to take and they directly ask them about the actions, but you don't ask them about the belief that has influenced this type of action. And it's the belief that's actually stopping them from pursuing. It's about reframing this belief, shifting their identity, and now making them act from the aligned version of themselves. Assumptions create emotional states, and emotional states will create decisions. So people never buy from fear or doubt. They buy from certainty and empowerment. You move them from Life 1.0 assumptions to Life 2.0 assumptions. And once assumptions shift, the sale becomes formality. Okay? By the time they assume I can do this now, this is the right time, I will figure this out. And this goes back to what I was saying, people. Feeling worthy, aligning their assumptions with the 2.0 assumptions. Buying is now simple because it's the next aligned step. Change the assumption, the identity, then the action, which will create the buying decision. The second law I want to go over, let me sip my latte whilst you guys read this. Cheers. The law of attraction. You guys hear this law so much times, but let me show you why it's so important in sales. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. And this comes down to becoming the man, focusing on the inputs to become the man who deserves the life that you want. Let me just say this again. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. Attraction is identity, not desire. Prospects think they want something, that means they have to try and attract it. But they're wrong. Wanting equals lack. You attract based on what you emotionally are, okay? Not what mentally is wanted. So Life 1.0 attracts chaos, fear, stagnation, avoidance. Life 2.0 will attract opportunity, clarity, solutions, growth. Your internal identity determines your external reality. Remember this, people, whatever you replay in your conscious mind will impress your subconscious and be expressed back into reality. So your internal growth is a direct correlation to your external growth. Remember, external growth, lagging indicator of your internal mind. So continue to grow internally, and what will you do, people? You will attract what you are. You will become the man that deserves what it is that they want. So attraction is emotional frequency, not thought. The world mirrors your emotional state, not your goals. Low emotional frequency attracts problems, setbacks, fear-driven decisions. High emotional frequency attracts ideas, solutions, pathways, opportunity. You don't attract what you think, you attract what you feel consistently. And this is so important, what you feel consistently. Attraction is based on self-image. Your self-image controls what you allow yourself to receive. So Life 1.0 self-image says, I don't deserve it, I'm not good enough. Good things aren't for me. Life 2.0 self-image says, I'm capable, I deserve better. I attract opportunities. You attract your reality and identity that you believe you are through your own identity, people. Okay? And why this is so important is guess who it goes back to? Be, do, have, right? Focusing on your inputs, becoming that person, naturally now taking the action steps of them, and now attracting those results. So remember, attraction will dictate behavior. Your emotional frequency determines your behavior. Low frequency is hesitation and avoidance, high frequency, movement and commitment. People have according to the level they are vibrating at. Your behavior aligns with your internal frequency, not your goals. Okay, and the last two to kind of end off the law of attraction and to give you guys some understanding is low frequency attraction. Everything feels slow, progressive stalls, nothing clicks, repeated cycles. High frequency attraction. Things line up, ideas come easily. Problems dissolve, progress compounds, momentum is vibrational, not logical. And then 6, attraction creates confirming reality loops. Your emotional state creates conditions that confirm it. Low attraction loop is fear, avoid, no result, reinforced fear. High attraction loop is that confidence, the action, the result, the reinforced confidence. You attract evidence for the emotional level you're in. Can you guys see this? You literally have negative and positive loops. And this is why it's so important that who you are first is the first thing you think about. Who you become first in your identity is the most important thing because it's through confidence in becoming, you take action, you get results, then you get reinforced confidence through even seeing the results. And it's like literally a positive loop. And that's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Okay? It's nothing to do with the government and all this bullshit. It's reinforced loops. People now telling themselves, okay, I am this person. And they become reinforced within the identity. The more reinforced you are within the identity, the greater action you take within this identity and the greater results you see. So this is why the law is so important in sales. Prospects buy according to their emotional frequency. So fear, delay, scarcity, doubt will create avoidance, delay, and excuses. Okay? What you need to make them understand is we need to switch there to confidence, which will create commitment, or clarity, which will create action. If you don't raise their emotional frequency, they physically cannot buy. Okay? A prospect's vibration determines how they interpret your offer. Low frequency equals risk, high frequency opportunity. Shifting attraction equals shifting perception. The sale is the first action of the identity. Okay? Once the prospect enters high frequency state, the certainty, the belief, the calm, the trust, buying will become so effortless. Attraction explains why logical persuasion doesn't work. Logic doesn't change identity, emotion does. You don't sell solutions, you sell emotional calibration. And to last but not least, is once attraction changes, results become inevitable. Because the prospect finally sees themselves as someone who wins, who grows, who commits, who follows through, the sale becomes a natural extension of who they are already now. And this is what they will do. They will attract this decision. They will attract the result of them paying, and they will attract the reality after.